All right, so we are ready to start day three for Creative Ways of Teaching. Um, I sent out the email today with the link for creating the Jeopardy game. Did you guys receive it?
Yes, I did.
All right, so I
Yes.
want to show how to make the game, is what we're going to do first, so we can keep that in the same flow like we did for the millionaire game. So I'm gonna share my screen. So for this, you guys will have to create a profile. This one is free. All you have to do is sign up, like create a login. I'm gonna show my screen. If you already have it, you can go along with me, or you can just watch, of course, and I'm gonna send you um, a replay back. So let me share. All right, we can see. Okay, so once you create your profile, well, let me say this about it. There's options in the game that they will ask you if you want to pay or go to pro versions and various things like that. You do not have to pay for it. Everything that I showed is on the free version. What's on the paid version is if you want them to create the questions for you, they'll try to promote that they could do more, for you. I do not recommend that because I can tell what they're doing is using an AI agent, and the AI agent that they're using is geared towards Catholicism. And if you um, study and really know the Bible, the canonized Bible that we have, there are other books that are in their Bible, so you would be prone to them adding in things that are not in our Bible or may not be things that we believe. So I would suggest to not take their paid version, and don't take their option to write the questions for you. You can write your own questions, and I'll show you how to put them in. So what you would do is over here on the left, it says create game, and you would click the little plus sign for that. And here is where you will put a title. So I'm going to close that right quick to show you something. I have three games in here already in my profile. One for Christian beliefs class, one for art class, one for a Bible study that I helped with. So when you create them, they'll stay. So when you're creating the name the first time, so that you can go back to that if you want to play that again, or every time you get ready to do something, you can create a new one. So when you choose this plus sign to hit create game, put a title here for what you will refer to it as the next time you go to it, because you'll be able to play it again or go back to it if you like. So I'm going to put teaching teachers training here. And when I do, here's my first option. It's telling me, do you want to go pro? You do not want to go pro. Hit this little X here to close that out. The going pro would be for you to pay for it. Wait, what did I just do? Okay, no, here. Okay, so I'm saving. I already saved this one. So what will happen when you first create the name? You're gonna get the blank setup like this. Here, the categories going across the top, and then going down is the dollar amounts. Whenever you see like the little pencil, is where you can change something. Here, when I type or put my cursor in the box where it says category title, I can start typing. So if I say our first category is going to be colors, and I can go across and say our next category will be numbers. So however many that you want to do, you can keep going across. Then going down where you have the little pencils, is going to open up this page for you where you're going to write the question and the answer. So Here, they give you an example. The question is, who is the first American president? And they're giving you an example. Answer is George Washington. So I chose this for color, so I could say, name the first color in the rainbow. I'm just making up stuff here. Okay. Down here, I say red is my answer. Or if you want them to answer in question form, you do have to write what is red. Okay. And you have to put your question mark. Up here, you hit save in the top corner. Okay. Okay. Now that's already taken. If I click back to this pencil, it's going to show me my question and my answer. So let's say if you created the game and you did not write something that you wanted, or you played it and you said, oh, I forgot to put the what is. You can hit that little pencil to go back to add that for future and hit save again. Always can edit whatever you've created. Okay. And then you would just go down the list to put in the next color. What color did Lydia sell? I'm just trying to make up stuff to get through this. So the answer is, what is purple? Okay, and I'm gonna hit save.
You didn't put your question mark.
Yeah, okay, right. So I can hit the little pencil and go back and hit the question mark and hit save. And you do that all the way across your categories and all the way down, whatever you want the items to be. Now you'll see that there's like some little dots here, 3 little dots here. It's going to take you back to the same place as well as the pencil. Let me hit save to go back there. You have a little caret sign here. It's going to give you a regular menu. Okay. You have a little check box, a little box there. Takes you back to. So every time you're clicking over there, it's trying to get you, or assuming that you're trying to edit something. Okay, so you can hit save, go all the way down and go all the way across. Okay, I'm gonna pause right there to see. Well, let me tell you, up here, you see these little options, says auto generate questions, AI question generator. That's what I was referring to, that has like a Catholic little background. So you can, I'll say it this way, you can hit it to see what it tells you, but then you still got to go and verify that the answers or the questions, what they're choosing, is accurate to what you want to teach. So I always say create your own questions, but I'm going to show you something else with AI in just a minute on something else that you could use to create your questions, but I will want to tell you how to do it first. Okay, up here you have what they call the daily double, which is the same thing as the regular game. You get to specify a tile that could be the daily double. So, and one of the questions yesterday was like, what if we wanted to give out prizes and different things? That could be a way that you could add in prizes to make one of the questions be a daily double. Here you have a little button for preview, and then you have the play button. So I'm just going to click the play button to show you a couple of things. When you get ready to play, it's going to show, so the name of your game is going to be here, your categories are going to be up here, and you get these options. This little pink little lock box is the stuff you would have to pay for to go to. So you're always going to be on this most popular Factile Jeopardy style. So you're going to click that. And then it's going to ask you, how many teams do you want to play? So if you're really in a true setup, like the game of Jeopardy, how they have multiple people going across that can play, you could choose how many teams you want. So if I say we're going to have 3 teams, here again, do you want to play with a buzzer? This is trying to add in more things for you to enhance the game, which means you pay for those things. But assuming we don't want to pay, just say no. And this here shows like little caricatures for you to create those teams. So it shows you fruits and vegetables. But let's say if you have a team of ladies versus men, or boys versus girls, or whatever your breakouts are, you can name your team. So this is Team Pineapple, for example. You can hit on the little pencil to change that from pineapple to boys, and hit save. Change the potato to girls. And I said I had three teams, so I have to pick three. And so I'm gonna say teachers. Okay, so these are gonna be my three teams. Okay. So next, I was going to show you. You could choose other little caricatures. So instead of the pineapple and the broccoli, it had a button for all. Like you could show other little images if it'll fit what you're doing. So now I want to say, take you where you can actually play the game. Now, I didn't put in enough questions, but you will see for my colors, I had one question and a second question. But what I want you to see is this down here at the bottom. My team watermelon, I didn't change the teachers, I guess. Watermelon, oh, I didn't save it. That's what it is. Watermelon, girls, and Mia. So my boys, girls, and teachers, you would have this down here at the bottom, what you chose for your teams. And as they're answering the questions, you can manually put in the amount that they won. So if watermelon took this question for 100, you hit the plus sign one time and it adds the 100. And in the real game, there's ways to take money away. So there's a negative sign to take it away. Okay. And if it was 200, you hit it twice, or 500, keep hitting it, and there's like a little ding bell for you to add that up. Now, when you're playing games, people be serious about their points. So you want to make sure you have a good scorekeeper so that there is no added animosity because the score isn't right. Make sure whoever is really um, assigned to do this will really pay attention so that you're not being derailed because they think somebody's cheating. So you want to make sure that's accurate. I'm going to pause right there to see what question you might have. And I need to turn my light on, so give me 1 second. But what questions might you have?
I don't have a question, but I just want to go on, Reverend Williams.
No, you go ahead. I'll get in a second. Go ahead.
Okay. I didn't have a question. I just want to say that we played Jeopardy with the Sunday school lesson, the women against the men. And I thought I had a great person that was looking out, but I didn't find out until last year at Vacation Bible School, and that was like 4 years ago. The gentleman was said in the meeting that he has never forgotten that we cheated, the women cheated, but they did not cheat. You know, we had the buzzers, and they wasn't hit the buzzer. They said, but their buzzers weren't working. The women buzzers were working. So it was really competitive, but he mentioned in Vacation Bible School, he finally got an opportunity to say it, that we cheated for the women because I was a woman superintendent. So it is fun, and they get into it, but it really, it takes a little bit of work to do it. But I didn't know they were going to get that competitive. But like I said, he mentioned in Vacation Bible School last year, he finally got off his chest that he had never forgotten it. So I told him,
very competitive.
Yes.
And what I have found is that the older they are, the more competitive they are. Like I know at my home church what we used to do games or like have combined Sunday school on the fifth Sunday. And so they would try to bring in some trivia or whatnot. And sometimes they would like separate the young people from the older people. And the younger people were just answering the questions. The older people were mad because we're getting more points. You know, it was just hilarious that we're studying, we're learning, and they was trying to slow us down or do various things, but they was serious that they wasn't getting enough time to find the answer or the point. So you do have to make sure just like how you're picking the right game to play, make sure you got the good host that can keep the crowd under control. Make sure you got good scorekeepers so nobody's cheating. And in all things, make sure that your answers are right. Right? You take the time to put the questions in and that you check the answer because one of the worst things that you could do is present a question, give the wrong answer, and then the whole rest of the day is off because everybody want to talk about that specific question or answer. Now you're losing time or have to cut the game short or whatnot. So do your homework on the front end to make sure that every question lines up with the Bible. And one thing that I saw at a conference that I went to last year, this church does, very excellent I'm saying they operate in excellence. I'll say it that way. On the screen, when they had like trivia questions while we were waiting for the answers, sometimes they had a host that would do something. They had the Bible verse down in the corner for you to go to look at the answer. So if I was answering the question and Emma didn't know the answer, at least Emma could see, okay, I'm gonna go to 2 Kings 4. I didn't know that. She might be writing that down. So even in the game aspect, you still have learning opportunities, even though you're having fun. Okay, anyone else?
Yes, ma'am. I was just looking at when you started it, you did the profile. Under the profile, you had to create the game.
Mhm.
Under the title of the game, you put the title of the game. Then you went to Go Pro, and then you said say no to Go Pro because it goes to AI in a sense that you were saying that. But so where did you go after that when you didn't go pro?
It takes you cancel, yes. It will take you to the screen where there was blank here
Mm,
that you could start typing in your titles. It brings up this page.
or it brings up the next page.
Hmm.
So it's nothing that you have to click or no, nothing that you click to bring it up. It just brings it up.
Right. You're saying no to Go Pro, meaning you don't want to pay for it. Take me to the free part, and then it'll give you the free part.
Okay. But do you ask that question? Take me to the free part.
You
Oh,
saying
okay.
no to
It
Pro?
just it automatically takes you there. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
That was my
Yeah.
question. I'm sorry.
No problem. Okay. Anyone else? All right. So let's play the game for like 5 minutes. Who would like to be the contestants today? Let's take two people.
I nominate Reverend Williams.
He
You
was
played
yesterday.
yesterday.
I did it
I,
yesterday.
I nominate Reverend Williams and First Lady Carolyn Esther.
Wait a minute, I played yesterday. What about Nesby? If you got to have a man.
Oh yeah, that's right. He didn't play yet, but I guess you get him, Reverend Esther.
or your brother.
My husband,
Was it your husband? Oh, you trying to get him out of it.
he did the first night.
He
Okay,
did
I'm sorry.
Monday.
All right, that's fine. I'm just messing with you. I'm
We
just
know we
messing
just
with you.
messing too.
Okay. Yeah. And now if he doesn't want to do it, I'll do it. I'll
You know
just
what? Anybody can answer. Let's do that. So I'm gonna go with authors for 300. Anybody can answer. Who wrote the longest book of prophecy in the Old Testament?
uh
Isaiah.
Is that Isaiah? Yes, ma'am. Who is Isaiah? All right. That was Carlo. Um, okay, let's go to Bible stories for 200. This strong man lost all his strength when his hair was cut by Delilah.
who
Who
is
is
Sam?
Samson?
Samson.
Who is Samson? Right? Um, let's see. Oh, Yeah. I want to show you here. There's a little this over here, the little music sign. You can actually click that if you don't want the music to be playing. You can hit just hit it to have the line and draw through it to turn off the music. If you don't have the line through it, the music will still play. So if you're
I
going through
ask,
speakers,
can I ask a
I'm sorry.
question? Do you have
Yes.
does it have its own music, or can you put your own music in there? How does that work?
It has its own. Let me reshare because I probably didn't share it with music. Let me do it again. It has the actual music of the game,
Okay.
like you was playing Jeopardy. Okay, when I hit
Oh,
the question, so I'm gonna do books of the Bible for 300. Okay, got sound.
okay, I understand.
27.
So how many books were there in the
27.
new?
What is 27?
What is 27? Okay. All right. So we could keep hitting the like little continue. And I didn't, click no points. So let me do that. You hear that sound for the points? Okay, so it's for fully interactive. So you'll be able to make this your own. The title, the categories, the questions, the teams are there. This one is a very good way for you to have the multiple people playing at one time and getting a variety of things out, especially if you're going after a series of something. You can actually be building up the questions as you teach to get ready to get to that last part so you don't have to spend so much time at the last minute going back to writing all the questions. Write them as you go for whatever you're working on. All right, any other questions on the game of Jeopardy, how to make it? I emailed you the links for where to go to create it.
I'm sorry, but I I haven't been here all day, so I hadn't looked, and when I looked, I don't have Jeopardy. You didn't email me Jeopardy. I
Did
got
you
what
get an
it
email
takes to
today?
and I got the notes, but I didn't get the Jeopardy.
The notes from today
Yeah, from day one.
for yesterday? You only
Mm-hmm.
got day one. Okay, so I'll have to resend for day two. So I sent one email today. It has the Word document for the summary of all of the commentary that we had. It has the link for the video, the recording. It has
Mm-hmm.
the link to the Gen Z Bible, and it has the link to the Jeopardy game. It's all in one email.
Okay.
And I think somebody I need a corrected email address for, and I don't think I have Ariel. I think
Okay.
Ariel. So if Ariel, if you put your email in the chat, I'll grab it and I'll send it to you during the break.
Okay, perfect. I was just about to tell you I didn't get anything, but I can put it in the chat for you.
Yes. All right. Anyone else? Okay. So I want to do one more thing on the teenagers before we move over to the young adults. Um, with the teenagers, they 'cause I mentioned yesterday how they are exposed to so many things, and there's like name recognition with various things. There is I'm gonna say it's an improv comedy type show that's called Wild and Out. There is multiple little things throughout the game, throughout the show, it's a television show, that they do that you could mimic to come into your classroom. We did this at state camp last year, and the kids were ecstatic. They could not believe that they were going to get to do it because they immediately knew what it was because they watched the TV show. So on the show, there's a bunch of comedians. There's always two sides. They're trying to compete with each other. One of the things that they have is called the alphabet train. And if you watch the show, you can pick up on any of them. There's some on YouTube that you can get or whatnot. But on the alphabet train, what it is there the crowd is saying a letter. So like A, B, and the contestants are saying something that comes with that letter, right? So if we said we're going to do the alphabet train and we're going to do fruit, for example. And if we start with A, so I can say apple. If we start with B, I can say banana. C, cantaloupe. So you find something with that letter, right? So way I suggest that you would, if you choose to do this, that you start with something that everybody know. They know colors, they know, fruit, anything like that generic. And same the way that you build up a game, you go from easy to hard. You're changing and say, okay, now instead of fruit, let's do people in the Bible. So I can say A, and somebody can say Abraham, So you're trying to jog their memory, off of what it is. You can go, okay, now we're gonna do places in the Bible. Like that's harder than people. We're gonna do, whatever you're studying. You can make it fit, whatever you're doing. There's another, and I do want us to play the alphabet train. So just a moment, we're gonna do that. Another example from their show is called In the Classroom. Okay, so on the show, they have somebody to give a beat. So the kids are already interested because they feel like they get to bang on the desk, make some noise. But in the classroom game is you're trying to make them rhyme with something. So they have to think about whatever the person said before that in order to make their next statement rhyme. So you could start off the game with say if you're gonna say something about Jesus, like Jesus was always walking, and then the crowd will say in the classroom. The next person will have to say something that rhymes with walking. Okay, so they will understand the game. So I can say Jesus was always walking in the classroom. He was always talking. The next person will say, and the third person will say something that they're trying to rhyme. So they're listening to the person before them. They're trying to rhyme, and they're trying to make it fit with what's happening in the story, whatever you started with. That's for me, I think that's not one that you could teach your story for the day, but it's one that you could allow them to have some relaxation time to gel before you have class or after you have class. Because one of the things that you should be concerned about when it comes to teenagers is how isolated they are. If they don't like you, they don't like you. If you ain't my friend, I ain't talking to you. When you bring in some elements that they have to either get on teams together for something, or they can say, "Oh, you said that. That was good. That was cool." There's another element for them to find an affinity for a person outside of just coming to class and only sitting with the person that they know, or I'm just here with my hoodie on and waiting for y'all to get done. So you can find the elements to bring in something that will perk them up, get them ready to be invested in whatever you have planned after that, or it can be a reward for after your actual lesson. Are there questions about that? All right, so let's play the alphabet train. Miss Carolyn, would you play with us? Yes.
Yes.
Miss Emma, would you play with us? And Dean Wicks, would you play with us? No.
No, I'm
You
here.
will.
Okay. So we're gonna go Carolyn, Emma, Wanda. Carolyn, Emma, Wanda. So you're going beside each other. So we're gonna say the letters, and you wait until after the rest of us say the letter. So everybody else, the crowd would say A. Carolyn would say something first. Then we say B before Emma says something next. And if they don't say the right thing or something that matches, it starts all over, it goes back to the beginning. Okay. All right. So if you're not a contestant, you can be in the crowd and you can say the letter that's next so that the next person can be ready to say their thing. So Carolyn, Emma, Wanda. It's going to be in order. Okay. It's all right. So we're going to go. Oh. They do have a little song that goes with it, but for the purpose of the class, we're just going to say the letter. Okay. So A.
Hey.
The category.
No. People in the Bible. People in the Bible. Okay. A.
Hey.
Adam.
B.
B. Bartholomew.
C.
Okay.
C.
Right. Okay, hang
Cain.
on. So if you are the contestant, your answer is the answer, right? Like how Miss Emma said, B, that's not a person's name in the Bible. You'll be out, right? They will be like, no, just try it, Now, give them some grace to stay in the game.
I
But
couldn't hear.
okay, little Emma. So that's the way it goes. Okay, so let's start over. We're gonna start back over, Miss Carolyn. We're gonna do A, and we're still gonna do people in the Bible. Okay, A,
Hey.
Andrew.
B,
B.
Bartholomew.
C,
C.
Cain.
D.
D. It goes back to me.
You're
Uh-huh.
out. Yes.
D. Come on, give us a D.
Esther.
That's really it. And you
Ezekiel.
see how easy it is? Like how it literally, Miss Carolyn is laughing because she's gonna be out. It's so simple, right? Doesn't amount to a hill of beans, but the kids get to have a little bit of fun before they actually go into class. And whatever you get done teaching, if you like, we're gonna do something else here. If you can find a category out of what you taught, then you get to play it with what you taught. But it's very general. So the little nuggets that you be dropping all along the way, you would hope that they would have something. And again, I'm saying this would be the teens. I will not say this is the children because you're still teaching them all of the foundational, the basic things. But you would hope by the time that they become teenagers, they know enough names in the Bible that they could play that. Or they know enough or heard enough places in the Bible that they might be able to play that. If you start with something that's not Bible related to get them in the practice of what they should do. So when you actually get to the category that you want, that they're ready to play. So start with something simple, easy, that does not have nothing to do with the Bible, and then say, okay, let's switch it over to books of the Bible. Let's switch it over to people in the Bible. Let's switch it over to colors in the Bible, animals in the Bible, like whatever thing that you can make, have multiple things for. And it might stop. Like if you get to something, they be like, is there somebody in the Bible that starts with an X? Is there? It is. You could go and teach that. Find a scripture for it. Like always find your teachable moments, but let them have some fun. All right. Okay. What kind of questions do you have about that?
Did you say that it has music, or is it like a specific thing? Is it something that like you can create your own beat to,
You
or
can you can you can create your own beats to it. I will put a link when I send out the video for tonight. I'll put a link to one from YouTube so that you could hear the music. The kids could kind of have a clap with it to be on beat. So it's really just a beat. But it's the audience that's doing the hey that gives them the tune. But the music is just a beat.
and is there a time frame to answer? Like, is there like if I delay too long for my answer, am I out?
Yes. So, and you again, this is where you would give some grace. I would say in a class, you would definitely want them not to not answer the question. So if they, like Miss Emma said, B, yeah, like that's not your answer. The first thing that came out your mouth has to be your answer. So they don't get to ask you something else. They get to answer with what you're doing. But if they stall for a minute, and like in a groove of the minute, because the audience is ready to say the next letter, they will end up being out because they wasn't on time for the beat, because the audience is going to have a constant rhythm.
Then you have to take into
Sister
consideration.
teacher,
Yes.
sister teacher, is it like the old game concentration, thinking of names of, and
Yes.
you can't pause?
Yes. Yes. Yes, it is. It's just like that. You're dating yourself. But yes,
Right.
it is like that. I haven't heard that in so long, but it is exactly like that.
Never heard of that, but my situation was when you get so old, you have to think before you speak. So that's why I said B.
Well,
B.
okay.
Concentrate.
Right. That's right. So, and so this is what's so funny about it. Because most cases, you're in a circle when it happens. So they're like looking like, I'm number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like they already trying to figure out what their letter is gonna be. Like there's so many elements, to it. You will see it happening, even though they not like their count, but they're doing it. And hopefully like the person ahead of them. So if I had B, for example, and like Miss Emma said, B, she's out. Miss Wanda would have been C, technically. But now it starts over. So now Miss Wanda would be A,
Hey.
because it will start over with the next person.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did I get to E?
No, you would have been D. It was A, B, C, D. You would have been D the next time around. And that's another
At
thing, like they're
E.
paying attention. You want them to.
Alphabet.
Right. You want them to pay attention. You could do like if you're in a metropolitan area, you could do it with street names, and most of them trying to rep their little hood. You can you could you anything that you could pick multiple things of, types of trees, types of wood. If we're trying to trigger their knowledge and see what else they are learning or what else they do, and like depending on what your age range is, you've heard them talk about other things that had nothing to do with the Bible. So bring in some of that so they can be like cars. You could do anything to help them, to get a little loosened up so you can actually start teaching them the word. Now, if you got older people, like Miss Emma said, if there were older people, you can decide that you're going to have more time. It's going to be slower. You're not going to have the original tempo for the letters. You can do whatever you want to do. It's your classroom. But you're just trying to bring in the elements that they will get to have a little bit of enjoyment outside of coming and learn the word. They're already coming. We're gonna give them the word, but give them a little bit of fun. All right. Anybody else? Okay. So I want to move to young adults. Now, children, um, you're teaching them the foundational things. You want them to have the building blocks. Like we pray that we pray that we would get them when they're children, so that we can instill certain things into them. That's why we have the little stories that we would tell. Like you could find little YouTube videos, or they used to have Veggie Tales. When I was a kid, like there's all kinds of things that are used to teach the little children the basics. When you get to the teenagers, you're trying to give them character. You're trying to help them to reach the next piece, like enrich them, but see that Jesus is a part of this or should be a part of this, and trying to just help guide them on their way. When you get to the young adults, it's a whole different ball game for multiple reasons. Number one, they walked away from the church. or they were put out of the church. Whichever way we're going to say it, which we're going to talk about in just a second. They walked away or they was put out, right? So now that they are back or trying to come back, they might have lost things. They haven't heard things. They haven't been a part of it. Now they have children. So they're bringing their children so they can learn, but now they're in class and they're trying to learn. Or they are coming because they are now have this newfound love for Christ and they want to be connected to the church and they're trying to find out what is it for me, right? At any event, if we have them there, we want to make sure we keep them and capture them. So I want to first ask, how many of your churches actually have young adult departments? Show your hands.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if I have a young adult a department, but I do have young adults. They have a young adults class, like Sunday school class. But I don't know. I don't know if we have a department, in that sense. But I do have them coming. Some coming.
Okay. And so I'm going to say my next thing, and I see the two hands. So I was first going to ask, how many of you have young adult departments? And then I was going to ask you, how many of you actually have a ministry or a class or something that's specific to the young adults? Or are they lumped in with the adults? Or there's not a real place for them? Now, Miss Eva, is your hand up to answer a question, or you were answering that you have young adult
I
ministry?
was answering the old question,
Okay.
but most of we don't have that many young adults, and so we use them in the areas to supplement the small ones or to supplement the older ones. Can you understand that? They
Yes,
are
and
being used.
I
They're
love that you say
bringing
that.
ideas, but they are used for the supplement for the older and the babies.
Mm-hmm. And we do that a lot, especially if they grew up in the church or we knew that they learned something. We expecting them to give back to the church. And so the couple things that I'm gonna say here that they need their own space. Like most churches do not have an actual young adult ministry or young adult department. You have them at the church. Either whether they just grew up there, they stayed there, they came there, they now they got their kids there, whatever. They're present, but there rarely is there an actual intentional setting for them. We either do what Miss Eva said, we put them to work. So when do they get to learn anything? If we always got them supplementing something, we don't have nothing for them specifically. If we put them in the general classes, the most cases they're more adults or senior adults than the young adults. So if we put them in the same class as them, the issues that the young adults have will never be discussed because there's so many things that the adults and the senior adults are talking about. The young adult part is never going to come out. And the needs of the young adult is nowhere near the needs of the adults and the senior adults. So we have to consciously think, where do they fit and how do we make sure that we attract them by giving something for them. Now their need is different in that they most cases don't need the basic principles like the little children do, but at the same time, that's all they have is the basic principles that the little children have because they walked away or they haven't been there in so long. So now that they are parents or they are college students or they are, in the workforce, the question that we should be trying to answer for the young adults is, how does this word apply to my life? I am coming here every Sunday or every Wednesday and I hear stuff, but what does it mean to me? So when you're teaching the young adults, you have to put in the life application pieces so that it will stick with them. Miss Ariel, I see your hand.
Thank you for sharing that. Because at my previous church, before I moved to my new church, that was one thing I noticed because I'm kind of on the cusp of I think I just crossed over to being an adult. And if you look at kind of the age demographic, and I grew up at my previous church, and they put me to work as soon as I turned 21, 22, after I came back from college. And I noticed one thing, and some of my peers who I still communicate and talk to, we brought up the word burnout because we weren't able, really, since we were always volunteering kind of in our children's ministry, we would miss church because we were involved with helping the younger children. I know the church now has a really established adult young adult ministry, which I'm so happy they've kind of got into that place. But I think it took some of the young adults to really speak out and say, hey, we exist, we need a place, we love helping. So when I say this, don't get me wrong, I love giving back, but sometimes you also need some time for you to be around the people that are your age and the people that may be going through some of the experiences you're going through. So thank you for sharing that, because it really just made me think about kind of some of my experiences and how I can bring that to my new church, and establish a young adult ministry for the young adults at our church.
Mhm. Yes. Can I ask you, how old are you, Miss Ariel?
I'm currently 36, but I'll be 37 in June. So I feel like, I think young adults cut off at 35 if I'm not mistaken. So they were like, "Yep, you're considered an adult now."
To that, because the age for young adults just keeps growing. It never stops. Right there, it used to be 18. You will say between 18 to 35, like on our like Sunday school books. There used to be the age that would be printed on there. Some of them switched to 36, some of them switched to 39. I was at a church this past weekend, and they said, "Oh, I heard you were the president for the youth and young adults. I'm so glad you're going to have something for me." And I'm looking at this person, I'm like, "You are not a young adult. Like, you're a grown woman," like the person that I'm looking at. And I said, "What age does your young adult ministry go to in your church?" And they said 45. I said, "That is not a young adult." I have been a part of churches where they said, "Oh, it's up to 50." I'm like, "That's not a young adult." Well, the problem is the adults don't want to move up. So that means we get to stay where we are because they not moving up. They're not moving to the side. And I'm not an advocate for getting rid of old people. That's not what I'm saying. But if I'm 50 and I was called young 2 months ago, I said, "I am not young. I am 50. The person I was speaking to was 80, which made me be young to her. But the church mentality is that we are still millennials and young adults. I'm like, no, we're not. But we got to make some room for them. So, what they need, well, before I say what they need, they are in a very creative space. The young adult, true young adults now, everything that they know was built around technology, apps, the stimulation of colors. They were taught to value sociable things. They were taught that you should not care about staying on a job for 30 years, or who cares about a pension. Just do what makes you happy. Like, this is a whole different
Mm.
breed of people.
Oh, Lord.
So the way we are addressing them has to be, that's going to show them this is value for you. How do we add the value for you? So what I want to do is first show a video. So we're going back to a trap Bible story. This one is from Second Kings, and this is the story where the woman, where the widow um only had the little bit of oil, and the prophet told her what to do. Okay, so what I want you to look for in this, why I pulled this out, she did an amazing job with this to show you from the mindset of young adults. When I read this Bible, How do I put myself in it? How do I see myself in it? And what is the application for me from this story? This was an amazing job doing this. So let me share this and then we'll talk about it. This is Second Kings chapter 4.
You ever been in a season where it felt like everything and everyone was being taken from you and you couldn't recover? Like loss after loss, bill after bill. And just when you thought you hit rock bottom and felt like it couldn't get any worse, somebody still had their hand out expecting more. Anyways, welcome to Trap Bible Stories. Yo. So I'm reading my Bible, right? And in 2 Kings 4, God snapped. Cause not them pulling up to repo children over debt. But let me rewind, because you mean to tell me you miss a payment and they don't take your house, they take your kids? Ain't this kidnapping? So y'all, there was this woman who was going through it. Her husband died and she was struggling. The bills were billing, debt collectors were calling, and she wasn't just about to lose everything. She was about to lose her children. Yeah, y'all heard me right, y'all. One day she got a knock at the door from some bill collectors. Knock, knock, knock. And y'all, they said what they always say. They were like, hey, where's our money? But the widow was like, I don't have it. My husband just died and we're broke. But the collectors were like, you ain't got the money. Cool. We'll just take your sons. Y'all, back in those days, if you couldn't pay your debts, they didn't mess up your credit score. They just took your kids and made them work to pay off the debt. So sis was like, Lord, not my babies. So y'all, she ran up on a prophet. She was like, Elisha, my husband was a good man. He feared God, but he left me in debt. And now these folks trying to repo our kids like they car payments. Please do something. Elisha was like, what you got in your house? Sis was like, nothing but a little bit of oil. He was like, Crisco? She was like, nah, olive oil. He was like, cool, cool. Go borrow as many empty jars as you can from your neighbors. Get them all. So y'all, she and her sons ran door to door like, knock, knock. Hey, y'all got any empty jars? Knock, knock, knock. Hey, I live 2 doors down. Do you have any empty jars? Y'all, they collected as many as they could and brought them home. That's when she went back to Elisha and was like, I got the jars. So he gonna say, go home, close the door, and pour your little bit of oil into those jars. And y'all, rather than question, rather than panic, rather than tell him she didn't have enough, she poured her oil into a jar, and it was filled. She poured it into another jar, and it was filled. 3 jars, 4 jars. Y'all, she kept filling jar after jar, and the oil didn't stop. It kept flowing and flowing. And it didn't stop until all the jars were filled. So y'all, she ran back to Elisha like, prophet, prophet, worked. I have jars and jars filled with oil. So he was like, now go sell the oil, pay off your debt, and live off the rest. And just like that, sis went from broke and about to lose it all to not just debt-free, but living life in overflow because God gave her more than enough. Ain't that just like God? Moral number 1. Never underestimate what's already in your house and in your hands. What you think is too small or not enough can very well be the exact thing God uses to answer the prayer you've been crying about. Because the oil didn't show up later, it was already there. God doesn't always send something new. Sometimes he activates what you've been overlooking. Moral number 2. Know who to run to when you're in trouble. If she had run to just anybody for advice, they would have had sympathy, but no solution. Running to the right or wrong person determines whether you stay stuck or step into provision. Moral number 3, obedience creates overflow. The oil only stopped when there were no more jars. God was willing to pour, but he gives according to what she prepared for. Your breakthrough can exceed your crisis if you make room for it. Now go read it for yourself. I want to know what you learned. 2 Kings 4. This is Trap by...
All right. So we done heard this story a million times before. And you could probably teach this story with your eyes closed. What I want to pull out of what she did for young adults is she made it applicable to real life. And that's the main thing that we have to do with the young adults because they are living life. They're not the little children. They're not the teenagers. They got bills, they married, they got kids, they got cars breaking down, they got house problems, getting evicted, everything in between. And what they will tell you is one of the problems that they have with I'm gonna say Christendom is that they watched, I'm gonna say us, the adults, older people. They watched us go to church every Sunday and they saw how we came home and how defeated our lives looked. They watched how we came home and nothing was different. But we keep saying, oh, just go pray about it. Oh, just this. Oh, just that. They want to know what is it in there for me? Because I can, again, go to Facebook or go to Instagram or go to the Boys and Girls Club or go to the Urban League or whatever and get things that will help me with my kids, things that will give me this or that. But if the church, like Miss Vaughn said yesterday, if the church is where we should be going for things, is the church making the space for them? If you're going to teach this story, do you actually give them at the end, she calls it the morals in hers. For us at churches, the life application for you is, do we make room for the life application? The questions that we are asking them, are we asserting what they should be pulling from this? Because if they have not really dug into the Bible, or if we're reading, let's say if we're doing Sunday school, the Sunday school book tells you what the lesson is. But you as a teacher, considering who your students are, have to figure out where are they and what should I be asking? What should we be doing to pull them into this conversation so that it's not them just sitting here 40, 45 minutes like they're the little kids? How do we get them into the conversation? It is what you need to focus on when it comes to the young adults. And not, you may have to not just follow the traditional like Sunday school material. You may have to go get an outside curriculum that's going to be on a specific topic that applies to them. I read, like y'all see all my Bibles over here. I read like nonstop. I'm gonna show y'all another book as well. I'm always digging in, but everybody's not like that. They want to know, how can I deal with my kids? They want to know, I got this issue with forgiveness for stuff that happened to me 12 years ago. Like making Jesus come to life for them in the space that they are, still being able to use them to help in other areas, but letting them have their space. So it is all about the life application for them. So I'm going to pause and see if there's any comments before I show you something else.
I've got a comment.
Okay.
I often, and first of all, you said something earlier about some of the adults who should not be in the young adult class, but should be in classes far above them. And this is what I found out. This is what I found out is the reason why these adults are not willing to go. Two reasons. They're not really ready to go to a higher class or another place. Number one is that they have not matured to be in the senior old adult class. They're still dealing with the young adult issues because the Bible talks about as children. First John talks about as children, they're learning about God in a sense, but as adults, as young adults, they have learned to overcome the enemy, which is the devil. And then when you get past that, when they become wisdom, have gotten all that. The purpose of the older adults is to be help for the young adults and for the children, to help them move forward like you're talking. But a lot of the adults who should be at the place of wisdom and being able to train the younger people and to give instruction to the young adults and to the children are not at the place of wisdom because they've been coming to church, but they're not in Bible class. They're not in Sunday school. They just come to service. So when they are faced with these issues or trying to even raise their own children, they don't have the answers because they're going on their own wisdom and not the wisdom of God. So I've seen that so often in my churches. So I often talk about that, how important it is to move from the children age to the young adult age, and what's the purpose of the wiser or the older members in the church is to be at a place so that they can help the younger grow and become what they ought to be in Christ. And I think that has hurt the church. We have been so busy. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but we have been so busy being excited sometimes about a preached word, a way a preacher is preaching, and we're getting so excited about the preached word, but we haven't gotten anything from the word to help us. We still, I could go too far with that, but we still leave there. Can I say this? Can I say this? There was a story that's told about a Duck church. They had a pastor. They had a pastor, Duck, Reverend Duck. They had the members, and his message was, the title of his message was "We Can Fly." And all while he was preaching the message, he was preaching in such a way that the people got excited about the fact that they could fly. But when he dismissed church, instead of the ducks flying, they still got up and wobbled home. And that's what's happening in the church. We get excited about what's being preached, but nothing has been said, or we're not receiving what we really need to fly, instead of keep wobbling and going home the same way we came.
Yes, that is so true. And because that is true, a lot of the young adults are saying, I love God, but I don't want to come to church because they still wobbling. Like we see that we should be flying. I want to fly. I can't fly because what's happening before me and beside of me and around me. I want to fly. So that is a great analogy. Okay, I think Nesby, are you going to
Mr.
say something?
Thomas,
Yes.
yes. A lot of times too, it's just a disconnect. It's disconnect. Some of the older people don't want to embrace change, and then the younger adults, they need change, and it's not happening. And so we cannot connect because no one really wants to change or to connect with the person that's not in the same mindset as you as a Christian, or don't do the same things. And then a lot of times, young adults may feel, well, what God you serve? You come to church, you got a frown on your face. You woe is me. Like, who wants to serve a God? You say it all the time, but you're saying that He's blessing me. He's going to bless you. You pray to Him. He's going to give you your heart's desires. You know, He's going to make your life full. But then we see the Christians that's been coming a long time ago. You don't have anything positive to say. You got frown on your face. You're looking blasé. It's not, hello, hey, how are you, sister? Like, excuse me, grabbing someone that you feel that needs that pulling up. We're not having the ones that's pulling up. Like when I first came in, Sister Esther, she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. You know, she's our mother of the church now, but then she was like, well, you come in. Like, she grabbed me, and then there was Dean Wicks who did that. And, you know, pulling the young adults up to help, to, you know, lead them to a place where they can feel like, well, yeah, God loves me too. You know, no matter what I've gone through, He forgives me and loves me too. And I just want to share that.
Yeah. You said one key word that is prominent for the young adults that is not prominent for the children or the teens, and is lost on the adults and the seniors, and that is relationship. These young adults are trying to really do what we've told them, that God should be your friend, that God will be there for you, that God is this and that. They believe that, and they trying to find the truth of that and not just let it be lip service. And I think that is so important for the space that we make for them, that we have to allow it to be their space. There's nothing wrong with adults or seniors like being advisors to them, but this is not your space. Let this be ours. Let it look like what we need it to look like for us. You may not like it. It may be loud. It may be different, but it's going to reach us where we are and allow us to keep coming back. Because when I leave here, I'm reading my Bible. I'm journaling in my Bible. I'm coloring in my Bible, which some people might say that's blasphemous. Like they are doing it, but it's in their way because they want their relationship. Okay, Ms. Vaughn.
Going to say we do have a young adult ministry. As a matter of fact, they have president and a vice president, secretary, treasurer. They go out to dinner. They do movies. They have their whole month of activities that they do that where they conduct everything there at the church. And I've noticed that when they do activities, it's not just them. Their friends, outside friends are coming and they're excited about it. But the thing that I've noticed is the people who are the senior, for a while there, the senior ministry was small, but we have a leader who is excited about God and people. And so as a result, when the seniors, and they have a full calendar and it's sent out in December, everybody knows what they're going to do. But sometimes they'll do events and they'll say you have to be a certain age to participate. And so as a result, those people, and they make it all sound so exciting. It's like Christmas time all the time. And now they've got their dance ministry, they boots on the ground. They just did that Sunday. And so it made it almost like an exclusive, you ain't old enough to be with us. And when we
Yes.
travel, we ain't gonna be doing all this stuff. We travel slow because we're retired and we don't have to be in a hurry. So I do like what they have done. And now I sort of see you got the young people, you got the seniors, who young people who doing young folk stuff, and you got seniors who are retired. Now, what about those people in between?
Yes. Yes. It's the ones in between. So I wrote I'm writing a newsletter, and the article title for the young adult section was called Correcting the Exile of the Young Adults. So if you think about the Israelites, whenever, or not whenever, but when you get into like the sections of like Daniel and Ezekiel, Isaiah, when you're going to see how they were exiled away from their homes, I'm equating what we, the church, did that to the young adults. We pushed them out. And now they're at the period where they were returning back to the church. And when they come back, what do we have there? We need to correct what we did. And what most of them will tell you, there's a one group called the Millennium Cafe. The leader of it, one of her catchphrases that she says all the time is, if Jesus was here today, y'all would be putting him out because he was a 33-year-old. He was a young adult. Y'all are praising Jesus, y'all worshiping Jesus, but he was us. The ones that y'all don't want to have a space for, or the ones that y'all are saying don't know what we're doing, y'all are praising somebody who was in our age group. So how is it that you can see the value, you can see what Jesus did and saw his ministry, but we have to wait until we 50 before we can do something? How? So when you put it into perspective like that, it makes you think completely. And I think that the main thing that we have to do is ask them what do they want and let them be the ones responsible for planning it. We got to stop creating stuff and thinking they just don't come to it because we threw it on the calendar. It don't look like nothing that they want to do. Say they're not coming. It's something that y'all wanted to do for the sake of them having a space on the calendar, and they're looking at you like that's not at all what we want. But if you heard what Ms. Vaughn said, that they have outings, like they do stuff, their people are coming, they would rather meet at a coffee shop than come to your church building. They would rather say, we're going to hang out at fill in the blank, and they will bring their Bibles. They will invite their friends. They will have the huddle and talk about whatever it is. It's just not going to be between the four walls like y'all do. It ain't going to be at 9 a.m. like we want it to be. It's going to be on their terms. And we have to be okay with that so that they can even have a space. And if you allow them to have that space outside of our normal time, if you did need them to teach the younger people, they'll already have their stuff outside of here. So they can come in here and teach today because they did theirs last night. You gotta allow them to have the space for it. All right. Anyone else? So we can move on. I can show you something else. Okay.
I'm sorry. I was trying to unmute.
Yes.
The age group for youth and young adult. What's your yeah. Give me your opinion on youth and young adults, the age group. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, so even in the youth space, that's kind of weird because, like how last night we were talking a little bit about how some people can't read. It used to be that we would equate either the ages of kids or the grades of kids. But because we have some educational deficiencies, them ages and grades don't match up and line up like it used to be anymore. And then you also have some school districts that do something weird with fifth and sixth graders or seventh and ninth graders. Like every school system is not the same. So what I was saying what we're going to do with the state is we're going to go up to the fourth grade to be considered children. And that's probably like 9 to 10-ish kind of age frame. And then we're going to do grades, fifth through sixth grade. Some areas call those middle schools or pre-tween middle schools. That's a weird little age, fifth and sixth graders, because they too old to be with the little bitty ones. They're too young to be with the ones above them. So they kind of just fighting for their existence, for where they should be. So I will carve out the fifth and sixth graders. They still need the nourishment to still have the Bible basics, but they too old to do the first and second grade, little stuff. So fifth and sixth grade, I would pull out separately. Then you would have seventh through 12th grade that I would really consider to be youth. And you could break that up seventh through ninth grade, or 10th through 12th grade, or every 2 years, depending on how many teachers you have or the space that you have. Sometimes you may not have the teachers or the space to break it up at all and just got children and youth. So you got to be worried about your resources, both your space and your teachers, for it. Because I'm a very big proponent of having two teachers for every class. You need a backup person or a classroom helper. And the more breakouts you have, the more people you have to be able to honor the setup that you have. And you have to make sure that you are getting them to really study so they're not in there just coloring. We want them to really be learning something. So you could play with that as well. For the young adults, you should start at 18, which is tricky as well because you got 18-year-olds that are in high school and 18-year-olds that are not. So we go through grades for the youth. So if they're still a senior in high school, even if they're 18, they are still a part of the youth. Once they graduate, and if they're 18, they switch over and go to young adults. Within the young adults, you need to break them up as well because you technically start at 18. And I would have said 36 ish, 39-ish, but again, I'm hearing some people going to 45 and 50. But I would take the 18 to 24 or 18 to 25-year-olds, consider that to be collegiate, like college age groups. And you want to be careful to not call it collegiate because the kids who chose not to go to college may think that they have nothing. So you got to find a cute little name for the 18 to 25, but you can't call it, collegiate for sure because people who, just started working or people who are not doing anything or went to military or whatever, the name needs to fit, all of the people that you want to honor in that space. And then the 25 to 35 or 25 to 39, whatever that is, that can be lumped together. And if we going over 40, they need to have a separate group. But I do understand why, because here's the other thing, and I don't know that I've ever been this way. My mother and father like raised us to always respect, elders, call them ma'am and sir, and Mr. and Mrs. You have a group of people that don't want to be ma'ams and sirs and Mrs. and Mrs. So they're not allowing, the push for them to be the elders and elders. Um, it's a little weird, in some cases, but you would have to do the best that you can based upon the resources that you have, to get good teachers. Like, don't just break them out just to say that they're separate. Get good people to work with them, so that they can be impacted.
And I just have one last thing to say. 2 years
Okay.
ago, our youth and young adult had a youth revival, and we all were able to come to the revival. But then they went back to the pastor and said we really didn't have a youth revival. We had a revival that the youth were in charge. So the next year they came and said we couldn't come. Well, at first I was offended. I said, how are we going to have a revival and we couldn't come? And then I thought about it because it's their space. So they
Took
had their
over.
revival, they had their age group, and I think they had a DJ, and it was all biblical. But they told the pastor, you called it youth revival, but it really was the youth revival.
Hmm.
We were just in charge. But then the next year when they said that, I have to be honest, at first my feelings were hurt. I said, what they mean we can't come to their revival? But we couldn't come, and I hear they had a good time, but those are the kind of things, that's what you said they need to do. But if you
They
don't
need to
go,
be able to have that space.
if you don't have a leader that's willing to listen either, that's going to be another thing. If the leaders in our churches and not just a pastor, we have youth advisors that's been a youth advisor since I was 5. It's time for you to go and sit down, Miss So and So. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't relate to these children right now. It is not the same.
Yes.
They are not disrespectful. It is not the same. When we were coming up, the group above us, our parents, they were doing things, and when we started doing the things, it's the same way now. But when you got me, and I've been in this position, as you said, 60 some years old, and I've been doing this class, teenage class, it's time for me to sit down because they're not listening to you, because you still trying to teach the same old way. But I just want to
Mhm.
bring up because it did offend me at first, and I had to get out of my feelings to realize they need to have their, but they didn't care about what I thought anyway. It's just that,
They don't. Because they want to be respectful, but they will tell you in a minute, I don't care. Because it's y'all have y'all space. Y'all got all the spaces. Okay. So let me all of us are brothers and sisters in here. So take this out of church, young adult, and adult. Switch this to race. Okay. When we first started saying Black Lives Matter, white people went crazy saying all lives matter. Why are you saying that? Well, because we feel like our lives don't matter. We're not saying yours doesn't, but you have all this space. You got all of this stuff already. We just trying to get a little footing in here. Don't trample on us. Just give us our space. That's what's happening in the church with the young adults. They're not saying y'all shouldn't have y'all stuff. They're not saying nothing's wrong with what y'all are doing. They're not even mad about what y'all doing. They will even come help you do what you're doing. They're saying, can I just have something for me? That's all they're saying. And they want it to look like them. And they will invite their friends. And so many of their friends, they have little prayer groups, little accountability groups, their little meetups at coffee shops and all that without the church. They want to do it with the church, but we got to make room for them for it to happen. Okay. Now, on Monday, this is a good place to say this. On Monday, I told y'all about the book, and I hid behind it and I said, I'm not personally recommending it, but this is a textbook. So this is a great place to say why. The book itself, written by Donald L. Griggs, who is an amazing author. He has written about 30 books. He has some great stuff on the Old Testament, New Testament. He has things about Advent season. Like his list is long. He was a professor, like a lot of accolades. Like not saying he's not a good author, but The title says Teaching Today's Teachers to Teach. This book was written in 2003. How can he teach us today when he was writing this 20 years ago? Nothing that he would tell you creatively will still work today. He never said teaching teachers creatively to teach. He said teaching teachers to teach. So when I said there is value here, there is value here. He tells you, like how I gave y'all the background burden and blessing. He has one that's like invites, like he wants you to first be inviting to your students first. Inform, like you start to teaching, like he has a five eyes listed in there. He has some do's and don'ts. Like he is, if you look at his bio, he says he is a Christian educator. He didn't say he was a creative Christian educator. So if you're trying to find the creative ways, the most creative way he tells you to do something is to get a tape recorder and record the news. He tells you to get a overhead projector and show a slide. How many of y'all got overhead projectors? Okay, so his teaching is solid, but you wouldn't see, ooh, how can I do it creatively? But you can read the book and see the principles that he gives you, but he's not telling you the creative things. That's what we also are doing in the church. We did this 25 years ago. We could keep doing it. And the young adults are saying, there's another way to do that. So let's just let us do that. All right. So we need to make room for the young adults. And it needs to be mind-boggling and the thought process is there. So there is a study method for them. Like they're not in the space where they just want to come to Sunday school. They want to do Bible study. They want to do the life applicable things. So there is a group of Christian collegiate there's a Bible study group. I'm gonna grab the name during our break so I can say it correctly. But they go around to college campuses and they teach them what's called the inductive Bible study method to teach them how to really drill into studying the Bible. So when we come back from break, I'm going to show you the way that the college ministry campuses teach young adults how to study the Bible. And I'm going to tell you, spoiler alert, what they tell them is you should be asking questions of this text. We don't just read and say, oh, we know this story or oh, we heard this before. You read and say, why'd they say that? Or what does that mean? Or why did this come into play? So that they can do the research to go back to the Old Testament to find what this meant, to pull in the maps for this, to look at this, to find out the meaning of this or that. So we're going to do John chapter 4 as our example when we come back from break. Using the inductive Bible study method that young adults should find some value in their spaces. So we have 3 minutes before it's time for break. So I'll just pause to see if there's anybody who has any questions or general comments. Otherwise, we'll go to break and we'll start with our inductive method when we come back. Any questions or comments? John chapter 4. Yes.
Yeah, John chapter 4. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I saw your mouth moving.
Yeah. Got mute on.
Yeah, we're gonna look at John chapter 4 to do the inductive Bible study method that the young adults could find some value in. Okay. All right. So then if there's no other questions, then come back at 7:45. So turn your cameras off. And when you come back, turn your cameras on so the secretary can take the roll again. Okay. So we are going to now look at the inductive Bible study method that young adults are or may find interesting, especially since they're very curious and they're trying to dig in more. The name of the group, that I couldn't remember before, is called InterVarsity Collegiate Ministries, is what the name is. I'm going to give you some handouts. It's going to be on there, but I'm going to send back to you as well. In your syllabus on page 6 is listed as one of the methods that has 3 points to it. It's option D, that's called inductive methods, that breaks it up into 3 parts. One, that they're going to observe. Two, they're going to interpret. And three, they're going to apply. So first one is observing, like just what does it say? What are the scriptures saying? And what they teach is we read these scriptures, or we have read these scriptures, we've heard these stories, we're reading it and immediately remembering what somebody taught us, but we're not actually digging into it to see what does it really say. And one of the things that young adults are doing right now is questioning, what did we learn? Was it right when we learned it as a kids? And how do I apply it? So this method that they use gives them the room to actually ask the questions, but actually see what they're seeing, to see where it takes them next. And then after they do the observation, they ask the questions: how am I interpreting this? What did I see here? And then they'll go find the answers to those questions, and then come back with what question, or what is God asking me to do with this. Is three pieces to it. So what I'm first going to do is show you part of the handouts that I'm going to email to you, and then we're going to actually go through the options of as how it should go in a form of a class. In the handouts, let me see if I can make this bigger. Yes. Okay, so in the handout, it tells you how to do this. Your number one option is observation. So here, if you were teaching this, you are gonna tell them, what we want you to do is actually read the text. I'm gonna show you a printout of the way you can give this to them, and you will want this to be printed, because the way that their steps would be, they could either circle things on it, they can highlight things on it, make triangles, for different things so they can see, and I'll point that out to you in just a moment. So in this first piece, you're looking at just observing what we see. We read it. What did I see when I read it? Who was the writers? Who was the characters? What was the action? What was the movement? Where were they going? Why were they saying that? And what did I see when I read it? Not what I remember that somebody told me before, but what do I see as I am actually reading this? And when you move from the observation piece, well, before you move from observation, when you're looking at it, which we're going to have an example of it in John chapter 4. If you see something that connects to the Old Testament, what is the Old Testament scripture that this is talking about? If you see a place, or it looks like there's some contrast between something, why is that contrast there? Like, what happened? And I'm going to pull it out when I get to the actual scriptures. So your first part, you just observe, what am I seeing? But factoring in all of these things. The second part is going to be actually interpreting that. Like, what questions did I have of what I saw? What did it mean? Like in our example, what did it mean when it said Jacob's well? Who is Jacob? Why is there a well? Right? So that you can bring in all of the other aspects. So you're interpreting now what you saw. You're going to ask yourself, what did I see? Why am I questioning this? And go find the answers to those questions. And practically, you as a teacher, if you're doing this ahead of time, you already have pulled out the scriptures. Say, okay, you're going to go to Genesis chapter 50 and see blah. Or this is going to also be in Psalms chapter 27. Go read this. So it will make sense to them when they're pulling it all together. So the interpretation phase is going to be asking the questions and connecting the dots of what they saw in part 1. And then in part 3, it is, okay, I've read this story, I've asked the questions, I've answered the questions. Now, how do I apply this? What am I going to do with what I just learned? Okay. Those are the three parts. Are there questions about those parts? Because we're going to actually do it. I'm gonna show you some highlighted things for what they would do in the normal sense, and then I'll tell you how you might be able to do it different in your class. Any questions about those three parts? Okay. Um, Now I have, oops. Okay. So this is John chapter 4. And for us, the story that what we would know it as a story of the woman at the well. Okay. We would have the faces in our mind of what happened. Jesus came. Well, I'll say it. Let me read the first couple of verses and then talk a little bit. At the beginning of chapter 4, it says, "Now when Jesus learned that the Pharisees had heard Jesus is making and baptizing more disciples than John, although it was not Jesus himself, but his disciples who baptized, he left Judea, started going back to Galilee, but he had to go through Samaria. So he came to a Samaritan city called Sychar, near the plot of ground that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired out of his journey, was sitting by the well. It was about noon. Okay. We know that story, right? We know these words. You're assuming that the young adults have never heard this story. Anybody you teach, you assume that they don't know nothing that you're talking about. You want to teach them, not read to them. My scar from my day one class. You want to teach them. But in those six little verses, it was a lot of movement in there, it was a lot of people in there, and it was a lot of context in there that is not really on the page, but because you guys have studied it or known it, you know the hidden pieces in it. They don't know the hidden pieces in it, so you want to actually teach what's behind this. So as a student, which I'm going to ask you guys to do this now, when you read it, what your question is, who are the characters? So I'm going to ask you, who do you guys see in this text? Who all do we see as a part of this?
Jesus,
Jesus,
the woman,
the woman,
Yeah, the woman. I'm sorry.
Disciples.
The Pharisees.
okay. All right.
yeah, the disciples, but they weren't there. They were going on to do something for Jesus.
See, okay, now I'm glad you just did that. So if you was actually in the class, she went on and told something else that was happening in the class. When you're in the observation period, you just want them absorbing like exactly what are they reading. Don't bring nothing else in that's not here yet, because there is a part where it talks is gonna be referred to, because they're gonna end up coming to where Jesus was. They wasn't there at first. There's gonna be a part of the interpretation or maybe the questions that you have. Where was the disciples when this was happening? Okay. All right. Okay, so I heard Jesus, the Pharisees, the woman, the disciples. I see in the comments Joseph. Y'all see anybody else?
Jacob.
Jacob,
They actually talk about God too.
God. Yes. All right.
Talked
So
about John.
John, yes. Okay. So what they do in this method is they Again, they have this on paper, and they use the New Revised Standard Version whenever they study this. They, which I'm gonna show you another piece of here in a minute, that there's multiple versions of the Bible, and it said this is one of the closest interpretive versions to the original text. So they are using that instead of the King James, instead of CSB, they use the NSRV version, new revised NRSV version. Okay, so you're looking for who all is in here. Then you're saying, what are they doing? Okay, and where are they going? And why did they do that? Or why did they say that? Okay, so what I want to show you to get past the first piece that we just did aloud is in the actual method they will be coloring or highlighting all of the characters. Every time I saw Jesus, that's yellow, for me. They referred to him as a Jew, referred to him as sir. Every time you see yellow prophet, those are all Jesuses in the text. Okay. The next character was John. We don't see John anymore because Jesus, in the actual text, Jesus was going away from where John was. So you don't see him anymore here. But if you were reading the book before, if you're going all the way through, John is all the way through this entire book. This would be John the Baptist, not John the disciple, is the reference to the person that we're talking about. You don't see him anymore in this text. Then you see Jesus's disciples a couple of times. You see Jacob, you see Joseph, and you see this woman. And then down here, I don't know if we caught it, we got Jacob's sons. Okay. So now, because we know a little Bible, I want to ask you the questions instead of you asking me the questions first. Who is Jacob's sons?
Need to go back to the Old Testament.
You want
Yeah.
one of his sons' name or all
You
of
would
them?
go, no, just who are they?
Oh,
Collectively.
okay.
Collectively, Jacob's sons
You're
would
gonna go
be.
back to the Old Testament.
Yes. So in the theory, if they're asked like, who is his sons? So they would have to go back to find that. So I'm going to tell you the answer. Jacob's sons makes up the 12 tribes.
Yeah.
But that's not what this says though.
Right.
It's inferred here. And if we are good teachers, we could bring that into the story and say, what it says, Jacob who gave us this well, and with his sons and flocks they drank from it. They're setting up something here because she already mentioned in verse 7. No, let's see. In verse 11. No, I'm sorry. Verse 12 says, are you greater than our ancestors, Jacob? Who is this woman? How is Jacob your ancestor when he's my ancestor? If Jesus comes from the tribe of Judah, she's a Samaritan. How could they both be the ancestors? That allows you to go back to the Old Testament to pull something else in that you could be teaching them, or you could give them the scriptures to go and find that. So I want to ask, let me see how I can show you in the text. Here, let's go to number 4. It said, nope, let's go a little bit above. Number 2, it says, although it was not Jesus himself, but his disciples who baptized, he left Judea and started back to Galilee, but he had to go through Samaria. So he came to a Samaritan city called Sychar. What is Samaria known for? What's Judea and Galilee known for? See, when we as adults, when we read, we just reading right past this because we done heard this story before. But the young adults, they're gonna look at him like, wait a minute, why does it say that he had to go through Samaria? So now it allows you to bring in some maps. Okay. Into the story, I have Judea down here. It says he was on his way back to Galilee, which is up here. He was here, needing to go here. It says he had to go through Samaria. Common sense says he would just go up, right?
Yeah.
You're in Judea. Here's Samaria. Here's Galilee. Why does it say you need to go through there? According to the map, that's the only way to do it, right?
Well,
But go ahead, Reverend William.
the woman was his reason for going.
Right.
Yeah.
But why would the Bible call out he need to go through there if on a map it makes sense to just go through there anyway? So historically, as a teacher, you get to pull out that the Jews didn't deal with Samaritans.
Right.
They didn't want to go to Samaria. Why? Right. So as the young adults, now you wouldn't do all of this with the children.
Yeah.
But the young adults you would. So they can have some foundational basis as to what does it mean he had to. Now it sounds good, like in the King James Version, whatever it says, he must need go through Samaritan. And y'all know, y'all hear a preacher say he needed to go there. Why?
Yeah.
Why did he need to go there? Why was it important for that to be in the text?
Yeah.
Because he didn't deal, or Jews, he was a Jew, didn't deal with Samaritans. Because if you go all the way back to the Old Testament, when the northern and the southern kingdom split, Samaria was the capital for one, and Jerusalem was the capital for the other. They were the sons that I referenced bottom, all 12 of them were together. But when they split after the Rehoboam and Jeroboam fallout, taking you back to the Old Testament, if you were you could teach them the stories, the little pieces that's gonna make them go back to read First and Second Kings, or First and Second Chronicles, to get those pieces of the story. That's their homework when they're not with you. And I will tell you that the young adults will dig in to all of these pieces so that they didn't just hear a good story for 20 minutes. They want to know these whys. They want to understand what this means. So when you are making the space for them to actually ask the questions and us not just say that this is the answer. No, let them ponder it for a minute. Why? Why is it? So for us, do as adults, as teachers, do we know why the Jews didn't deal with the Samaritans? Or do we just read right on past it and just say he had to go through there? Say it again. Okay. So when you actually study and you see that the Jews, or I'm not gonna say Jews yet, because they was not called Jews yet. The Israelites were in exile, and the northern and the southern, like one was taken by Assyrians and one was taken by the Babylonians. The northern, they were mixing with the Syrians, and they were or as what we would call half breeds, mixed people. The Jews came from Judea, the southern. They looked at them as that they were no longer pure Israelites, so they didn't want to deal with them. They would rather go all the way around their whole town than to just walk through there because they didn't want to deal with them. If you were talking about this right now to young adults, they could pinpoint that to how some people are treated today. But when we run right past it and say, he just had to go through there, you don't give them a chance to actually see the life of the text. So you want to stop long enough to actually allow them to see or pull out the things that have some question there. Okay. Let me pull out another piece that they may ask the question. So um in verse 16, said, Jesus said to her, go call your husband and come back. And the woman answered him, I have no husband. Jesus said to her, "You are right in saying, I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true." The woman said to him, "Sir, I see that you are a prophet." Okay, so if we take that part right there, what, as you're going to be my little students right now, what questions do you have of those scriptures? As you are reading it, what is coming into your mind about the questions that you could ask of this text for you to get a greater understanding?
First, why would Jesus ask about her husband?
Yeah.
He was already talking to her,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Why would he ask about her husband? Okay. What else?
He wanted her to be truthful.
You're answering the question or you're asking a question?
I'm saying he wanted her to be truthful. See, was she gonna
Okay,
be
you're
truthful?
answering. Okay. He wanted her to be truthful. Okay. What else?
Jesus appreciated the marginalized person. And a woman back in that time didn't have any rights or dignities or anything or whatever to do with what Jesus had to do.
Okay. So the prize goes to Miss Eva. Okay. So well, yeah, I'm gonna say it this way. When we are normally taught this text, or when we hear it preached as a sermon, this Samaritan woman is painted as a woman that was just loose and fancy free, right?
Mm-hmm.
She had all these husbands. Okay. Now she had 5. One at home now is 6. Okay. So if you know the numbers, what numbers mean in the Bible, okay, young adults counting that. 5 husbands, now show number 6. But what rights did women have back in that day?
None.
None. Could a woman divorce her husband back in that day?
No.
No. Okay, so if she had 5 husbands, and if we know, okay, this is gonna challenge y'all, because it challenges me very deeply, but it makes you read more, it makes you study more. Okay, if she had no rights as a woman, she has had 5 husbands at home with another husband. How did she get all these husbands? Was it that the other husbands died and these are the brothers of that first husband? Because the Old Testament will tell you that if she had no children, his brother was supposed to marry her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not saying this is true. I'm saying this allows you to ask the question.
Yes.
If she could not divorce them and go marry somebody else, does this mean that she was passed around?
Yes.
Could a young adult person really find themselves in reading this text to see some things ain't changed?
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, so then when she says, "I see you a prophet," she's acknowledging it. Okay, so now I'm gonna challenge the church. Do we see anywhere that Jesus said, "Why'd you have all those husbands?"
No.
No.
Did he call out her sin in here at all?
No.
Did he say that it was sin? Because we teach it that it was sin. Did
No.
Jesus say anything about that?
No.
No. We add stuff into the scriptures and we create the stories that is painted for them instead of allowing students to actually read the word and us point them to the other scriptures that will make this make sense. When you get to the young adults, you're not just feeding them what it says. You're asking them to be an invested part of their growth as a student of the word. But if you just sit there and tell them what it means, they get to walk away with what you said it means, not how I can take this for myself. Okay? So I'm gonna show you like one of the things. So if you were teaching this, you should kind of encourage them to ask the questions like, what do you see? What are you doing? So when I went through this, the questions that I pointed down, let me scroll back towards the top. In the first verse, my first question was, why did Jesus leave? At the beginning, it says, now when Jesus learned that the Pharisees had heard Jesus is making and baptizing more disciples than John, although it was not Jesus himself, but his disciples who had baptized, he left Judea and started back to Galilee. Why didn't Jesus say anything to the Pharisees right then? That's a
Because he
question.
already knew what's in their mind and their hearts.
There you go. Yes. So when you have, because we learn students, we know this. We're assuming that our students don't. We can allow for the questions to be asked so that we can get them to that point so that they can have the full story at the end. So next question that we already answered this next one. I said, why did he have to go to Samaria? And I think Wick said because he knew she was going to be there. Like this was a divine appointment. So if you are following the actual text, we saw that Jesus in chapter 2 performed the first miracle of the water into wine. So he's officially starting his ministry. Okay. He had already been baptized by John. Okay. They're already questioning, who are you? Show us a sign. Then it was Nicodemus. And now we're here. Okay. So he's very freshly new, but Jesus already knows. And in this case, what we get to actually take away from here at the beginning, why did he have to go there? Because John, this ain't in Matthew, ain't in Mark, and ain't in Luke. John is trying to assert that Jesus came here for everybody.
Yeah.
He did not just come here for the Jews. Okay. You get to bring that into your commentary as the teacher when they start asking the questions about it. Okay, so the next question that I wrote is why did he ask for water? Why is this at noon? Why did it call out that it was at noon? Who goes to draw water at noon? Now, my grandmother is from Arkansas, so I know that you don't go draw water in the middle of the day. It's hot. You should go very early in the morning. Why is she doing it at noon? You get to create the tension in the text when you're teaching it if you call out all of these pieces. And as a teacher, when you get started, it's like how I have my list. You can have the questions that you found or saw that you could talk about and really explain. You could have these written on index cards or a little slip of paper, and you can hand one to each person. And yours might say, hey, go look up John 26, or go look at Genesis 26. So this person is reading who was Jacob. This other person is reading what happened to the Samaritans and the Assyrians or whatever. And then you allow them to have the full discussion with each other. They're talking to each other and they're like, oh, yeah. And from the collectiveness of them, they have dissected this text and they get to walk away with a greater understanding and finding ways to keep reading the Bible for the rest of the week until they get back to you again. Okay. So next question I wrote was why didn't he convict her of her sin? Why did he call it out? We call out people's sins all the time. Why didn't Jesus do that? He clearly could say, what's up with all these husbands? Right? If there was a sin. Talked about noon. Okay, so later, so in the next part, which I didn't highlight all the pieces yet, but if we know the story, she talk about we worship God on this mountain, and he's saying you don't know who you worship, right? So my questions for that was why did Jesus respond regarding the correct place of worship? Jesus talked about
grace.
people true. Say it again.
He's establishing grace in his ministry.
Yes. So and he talked about true worshipers. He talked about God being a spirit. What does it mean to say that God is a spirit? And what is the meaning of spirit and truth? So if you dissected this before your class time. You found your Old Testament references, some New Testament references. Some might be just definitions, or like I showed you the map, the places. Figure out the places that you can add in the teacher commentary to really teach them the lesson, not just reading the scriptures. They can read and they can observe. Okay. Now, and after this, so I told you for the six, right? The five husbands she had, the sixth one that she has now. If you look at numbers in the Bible, seven is the number of completion. He just told her that if I gave you water, you would never be thirsty again, right? If he, and I'm not saying this, don't throw tomatoes at me, that I'm saying that Jesus was her husband, but Jesus came to complete her. That's number seven.
Yeah, right.
You get to add that
I like
into the
that.
story.
Right.
Okay, you're not gonna say Jesus her husband, but you can say here's the seventh man that she don't need nobody else because he came and completed her. You get to
Right.
talk about numbers, right? You can find your ways to add in all of the aspects. Okay, so then when you get done with the questions, all of them have read their pieces and gave their commentary and added in what they can say about it. Then you, as the teacher, have already found questions for them to ponder. So, like at the end of that trap Bible story for today's, where I said she did a great job of finding the life application pieces for teaching them how this applies to them, you should come up with questions. So sort of think of it like I laugh when I think about like sometimes how people set up sermons or whatever. If think about when you're in a church, the pastor's been going, he's talking and talking, and then at a certain part in the sermon, there's this music that starts playing, and they're trying to set the tone for him to give you what you should be thinking about for the rest of the week. Okay. So as a teacher, you get to set the tone for them to walk out for the rest of the week by you giving them the questions that they could ask themselves out of this scripture. So when I did this, the questions that I asked, here's your life application for the week. Who is the Samaritan in your life? Who is God asking you or giving you the opportunity to go to directly? You may not have had the direct path to him or should have been the way you go around him. Who is God calling you to go to? And let them sit with that for a minute. Who is your Samaritan that God is putting in your path? Okay. And then the second question that I wrote out is, what is the area of your life where God is inviting you to look at spiritually and not physically? They were talking about water. She's talking about, I'm not going to give you no water out of this well. He said, I'm going to give you some living water. They're not even talking about the same things. So what opportunities is God telling you to stop looking at this in a physical manner and start looking at it in a spiritual manner? Okay. So I only wrote two questions. And then you give the students a chance to ask them, where did you see yourself here? What question is God putting on your heart to wrestle with from this text? And they don't have to say it out loud. You can give them the room to, because that's their personal question. And they get to take the scriptures, what you just taught them, the added Old Testament scriptures and the added other things that you have given to them, to put it all together. And now they get to question and see how they can open up John chapter 4 and put themselves in the scripture. When they walk away from this, it's no longer, oh, I read a story about a woman at the well. It's, I saw myself in the story at the woman at the well. Yeah. And because they get to see themselves in the story at the woman at the well, that builds their relationship with God, because now they saw the way Jesus looked at her. So that means Jesus can look at me. You're giving them the opportunities to actually be an invested part of the Bible stories and a part of their own learning, because we tell people all the time, don't wait till you get to church for the pastor to preach to you. Read your own Bible at home. When you do this, you've gave them the various places for them to go and to keep learning. And if you're a great teacher, hopefully they got your phone number. They don't call you in a week. They may text you and say something. They may reach out and say, oh, I saw something else after I went home and kept looking at it. Because they don't put this down when they go home. They keep looking at it. So as teachers of young adults, we have to give them the way to do more than just read what's on the paper, and encourage them that it's okay to ask questions. We're not questioning God. Like that's what we were taught. You can't question God. The Bible's full of people that question God. The Bible's full of people that ask God stuff and he answered them. So why are we telling them that they can't? So make the room for them to see that there is another way to dig in and for them to be invested. So what I'm going to send to you guys for this, I'm going to show you a couple of things on the screen. So this is something that as you're coaching and teaching, when you're telling them what you would want them to do as they are going through it, you're telling them when you're asking them to observe, just stay on what you see on the paper. Ask the questions. Don't go ahead and start saying this is why, but just ask what questions do you have? Who are the characters? What is the movement? What is the genre of it? Let them ask all those questions, and then they're building up to go find the answers. They're getting the understanding. They're listening to each other's comments, but also if somebody said something that was contrary, you want to tell kind of like house rules, like don't be disrespectful to what somebody else says. But let's say if somebody says something that's completely off, you as the teacher have to bring the scriptures in, how to get that back on task, or say, where did you find that? What scripture was that you're talking about? Don't let them bring their opinions. Let them pull in the actual scriptures, because you do not want to be teaching something wrong. If you're going to allow the various student helpers or other students to be talking, they become parts of the little teachers. You can't let them teach the wrong thing. So if something is not said correctly, you got to nip it in the bud the same way we do with a game. Like, well, wait a minute. Find the scripture for that. Or, oh, my grandmother said, no, we're not talking about granny today. Find the scripture for it, because you don't want anybody to walk out of here with the wrong interpretation or with something that's not true, because that's not what we're trying to do. Okay, so you'll have a page like this to give you a guide. You also will have a page like this that you could give out to the students that will say, this is what you're looking for while you're observing this. So this is something that they could have. And then for the teachers, I'll give you, if your class is 60 minutes, this is how you can like break down the different parts. Like you can give them 7 minutes to read it, 5 minutes to do their personal observations, like doing their coloring, like what I did, or circling things or whatever. And then take 15 minutes for people to ask the questions or say what they saw. 20 minutes for the finding the scriptures and answering, and then 10 minutes at the end for applications. So depending on how much time you have, there's a couple of different versions of how you can break that down. So I'm going to give you about 4 or 5 attachments for this that you can look over how you can do that. All right. What kind of questions do you have or comments?
I don't have a question or a comment. I just need to say a few things to the class. I visit all the other class. As you all know, that tomorrow is our last night. We will be in class from 6 to 7:45. You take a break at 7:45. At 8 o'clock, we're going to call in on the Uber conference, or you can click the link and it'll bring you straight into Uber conference. Also, Sister Thomas, you need to make sure that you have a students that will be doing your presentation. You all have 5 minutes. And we will end up that way. This is our first time trying this, so I pray that it goes well. The next thing is you should receive an evaluation from me tonight. I ask that you please fill it out. And if there are some things we can improve on, please let us know. If things are great, let us know that too, because the only way we can improve if there's something wrong is if you let us know. All right. The next thing is if you become these congresses and institutes, as long as I have, you know, Sister Thomas, you've been a great instructor. I truly enjoyed the class. So if you can, I ask that you please give her a little token of love. We're not trying to pay her, but it takes a lot, as you say, all the games. And I mean, I have a lot of ideas and I've had some before, but I was trying to practice on some last night. So we have a lot of ideas, creative things. So if you can, please give her a little donation. Her Cash App and Zelle is on the front of her syllabus. And also, Sister Grizz, our secretary. Sister Greer, I asked that you put
Sister
your cash.
Wicks.
Yes.
No, you don't have to give me anything.
No, ma'am. No,
Oh,
ma'am. You're not the
no,
dean. You're
no,
not the dean
no,
of this
because
school. Okay. Excuse me. Can you tell your student? Okay. Thank you. If you all would, please bless your secretary. That is just custom, Sister Greer, and I ask you to be the secretary. And if you would like to bless her, no one asked the teacher either, but we just want to bless you all for doing what you did, and please accept it. Don't let if someone want to give you something, please don't allow them to miss out on their blessing because we thank you all so much. And I have been in this class. I've enjoyed the class, and I'm looking to take some of the things I've gotten out of this class to help make my teaching a little bit better. So thank you. Please fill out your evaluation. And if Miss Greer does not give her cash app, then you can get it to me. I belong to the same church, and I will get it to Miss Greer. Thank you all so very much. Thank you, Sister Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Does anyone have a question or a comment? And does anyone want to volunteer to do our review during the General Assembly tomorrow? Nobody learned anything. All right. Okay, so we are at time for tonight. So we heard the dean's comments here. So you start tomorrow at 6. We'll go straight to 7:45. So tomorrow we're gonna talk about the adults and the senior adults, and we're gonna look at some things with AI that can help you as well in a creatively. And I'm gonna give you one more game. So if there's no questions or comments, see nobody. Okay, can we have a volunteer to close us out in prayer tonight, please?
I will.
Thank you.
All right, let's close out. Father, we thank you tonight for your goodness. Thank you tonight for our teacher,
Thank you.
Ms. Thomas. We thank you for all of the wisdom and all the knowledge that she has and that she's sharing with all of us. And we thank you, Lord, that there's so much was taught and so much that is learned. And thank you, God, for placing her where she is, even in this ministry, to be able to reach the youth and the young adults in the churches is so needed so needed today, because even among our pastors and preachers, we are still trying to find ways
Yes, Lord.
reaching our youth.
Amen.
And you're already putting in place people in our churches
Yes.
to be able to do those things if we will just use them in the ministry. So thank you,
Yes,
Lord,
God.
tonight.
Thank you.
So bless us, and even on tomorrow night, Lord, just take us even higher, or take us where you would have us to go. And
Yes.
and as I close, even some of the information that we're getting as a teacher, help us to remember, even as pastors, that we have a teaching gift even among the pastors. So help
Yes.
us, Lord, to know how to take this teaching and apply it even in the messages on Sunday mornings, because our people need to be taught more
Yes.
than they need to be preached to, if I'm saying that right. So help us, Lord, to grow
Help
our
us.
churches, and that our people might be the people that you would have them to be. And bless our youth. Strengthen
Peace, God.
all of our churches, my church as well as all our churches, and help us to teach in a way that will draw our children back to the church with a greater interest, and a greater desire to know you above all. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so
Amen.
much for the prayer. You guys have a great night.
You too.
Thank
You
you.
too. Thank you.
Sister Thomas,
Yes.
this Reverend Nesby, can I speak for us tomorrow?
Yes. Thank you so
Because
kindly.
I can't. I learned something, and I can't sit here and be quiet.
All right. They learned too. I saw their faces.
Yeah, we learn. Yeah, I know I've
Yes,
learned a
ma'am.
lot.
Thank you. Yes, you certainly can speak for us tomorrow. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So we'll see you guys
See you
tomorrow.
tomorrow. All right.
Yes. Thanks. Bye.
Good night.
Hey,
Good
make
night.
sure you make your announcement tomorrow, Sue Thomas, about the state congress.
Okay.
Tomorrow. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.